Hi, my name is Jeff, and welcome not to my workshop, but to the Arlington Heights Society of Model Engineers workshop. We're working on the club's city scene that's going on a corner module of our portable layout. Inside the tracks, we have our diesel engine servicing facility. Outside will be the city scene. We've laid out the material we're going to use to make roads, and now we need to just cut the pieces for the roads. The first step we're going to do is draw lines along here to show where the edge of the layout is. That way we know things don't go over it. So first one side of this corner module, and then we'll do the other side. Remember, doing this is one of our scenery committee members, with help from whoever else is in the club just now. So we do that with one side using a straight edge and lining it up with the edge of the layout. That lets us see where we can place buildings along with the road length or width. Now the road is going to continue from where you see the material laid out down the far edge of the layout onto the next two sections of this layout. So there will be some seams, and we'll have to hide those scenically. The material we're using is a wall covering material that was left over from a project former member had. So we've laid the buildings out in their rough place, and we're just going to follow the rails at a couple of inch interval and trace out where the inside edge of the road will go. And we just need to take that curve far enough to get to the point where we're going to be heading straight back and off the layout. The near edge of the layout has a yard on it, and the front of that is scenic. The road won't continue along that. But once that's done, we need to determine the width of the road. We're going to place a couple of cars on it to see what we have. We also found online a reference for road widths that shows that typical road in an old city would be about 6 inches. And I'm going to show you that in a few minutes. It's coming up after this clip. But once we determine the width for this road, which is going to be a narrow street, maybe a one-way road with limited sidewalks in front of the buildings. But once we have that, we can do the same procedure to get the outside edge of the road, and then continue it on off. Use the straight edge to continue it off straight to the edge of the layout. Well, the pencil lines don't show up real well in the video. They're certainly well enough on here that we can see them, so when we go to cut out the material later, we can use them. Now, to keep our width even, we can set that up. And get that line drawn in. That leaves the cross street that will run from the front railroad road along the railroad tracks along the side. So again, we're going to try and position structures where they're going to end up being. Now, you've already seen videos where I've worked on some of these structures. Some of them I haven't worked on yet. Here's a list of typical road traffics. So we need about 3 inches for the 2 lanes with no parking or sidewalks, 1 inch for sidewalks. So now we'll calculate where the other road is going in its width, and we can try and get things in position and make sure it'll fit without falling off the layout. Then we can draw in the cross street and curves at the corner that the road will follow. There's a couple of ways you can do this. If you've got a material like this one that takes pencil marks well, you can do this right on this material like we are. You could also use a paper template for something like this, and then you can cut it out of whatever material you're using based on the template, depending on the thickness of it and what kind of material. That may be easier. The other advantage of paper is that if you're not real good at drawing and real sure of what you want to do, if you make too many mistakes and it gets too confusing, you can crumple it up and grab another piece of paper. So now we're just going to darken in some of the lines and adjust the positioning on them. Then we can start placing the buildings where they're going to go, and we'll mark out where each building will go on the waste material. This way, if we decide to use this as understructure, we can, but we can also use it as a reference when we're placing the layout on the buildings on the final, into position on the final layout. And once we've gotten the buildings positioned and outlined, we're starting to remove the buildings out of the way, so we'll be able to take the material over to a workstation and start cutting out the roadway. One of the things we're doing is not only drawing out the outline of the building, but also labeling it as to which building it is so we know. By the way, while we haven't discussed it, if you are in the Illinois area, the last weekend of March, we will be displaying this layout at the Rock River Train Show in Machesney Park, Illinois. I'll put a link to the show information down below in the description. So with the roads drawn in, Tom's just going to darken the lines a little bit so you can see them, and put in the curves at the corners. so that the road follows a nice curved area. And now we're ready to cut them out. This material is tough to cut, so we're using a straight edge and a utility knife with lots of short passes. Of course, working on a scrap of wood so we don't damage the table and the work surface. Sometimes when you're doing things like this, it's easier to change the angle of something just so you can make sure you have things at an angle that's good, easy to work on. And that's exactly what's happening here. By the way, if you find this video useful or you've enjoyed it, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss my next video. I try and get a video uploaded every Thursday, plus a short on Mondays. So stay tuned. We'll be continuing this series next Thursday. But after a little bit of time, we were able to get through on this and separate the road. We'll continue getting this all cut out, and next update on the layout progress, we'll be gluing the road down. Thank you for watching.